Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with part 10 of the F124 driver career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here for the Spanish Grand Prix. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live at the end of last week from Canada, I would highly recommend going back and checking out. And as well, I just want to say, you know, hopefully you guys enjoyed the two ridiculously long videos we posted over the weekend as well. It's something I want to do more and more here inside F124 with this series, but from now on I'm going to try and do it at the end of each season instead, rather than just kind of randomly a few weeks further down the line. So yeah, if you can't quite keep up with all of these videos as they go up each and every day, then maybe the Ultimate Movie edit is going to be the right series for you. But of course, as we return then here back in Europe after 1 week away at the Montreal circuit, it was actually, I reckon, probably one of the highlights so far of the year. It was really, really good fun as we went through the weekend there. We lacked a bit of pace in qualifying, but we were able to get up to speed as we got throughout the rest of the weekend there. And of course, we walked away with the Grand Prix victory as well. Just our second so far of the year. Charles Leclerc suffered his worst race so far of the campaign. He finished third, so yeah, he really is still absolutely dominating at the front of the table. There's 72 points clear still as we head into the Spanish GP this weekend. Max Verstappen, of course, still in P2 in the championship, 25 points clear of myself. So before we even worry about Charles, we've got to try and make sure that we get back ahead of the Dutchman in the not too distant future. Of course, if you're new, please do make sure you get yourself subscribed as well. We're actually really close to 131,000 subscribers. I'd love to hit 140k quite soon. I think 150k might be a little bit too difficult by the end of this year. But yeah, hopefully you guys are still enjoying this series. And let's head out then onto the circuit here in Barcelona.
Hola y bienvenidos a España. Welcome to Spain. It's a track they know oh so very well. It still remains a very important free practice session though.
Well, I was just thinking this might be the first time we've ever come to Spain inside F124 and might actually be able to enjoy the weekend as a Grand Prix. Of course, this place is all about the tyre temperature management and has ultimately been one where we've really struggled so far inside F124. So I'm hoping today might obviously be a little bit of a different story. Now we've actually got a car that is quite competitive as well. Or I say quite competitive. We've won all but 3 Grand Prix so far this year, haven't we, as a team still. So yeah, Charles Leclerc and I hopefully are going to be able to lock down that Constructors' Championship. Maybe ideally with a couple of rounds to go. You know, a bit like we saw with Mercedes throughout all those years, because it was kind of then, once the championship was sealed, the gloves could kind of come off and they were really allowed to fight each other as well. Now kind of the important bit for the team had been navigated. But ERS run coming up first of all. Still a little bit behind the Delta. There we go, making our way out the final corner. Plenty of battery used at the end of the lap. That's going to be a purple score.
Hello everyone, it is a track the drivers know oh so well. It is qualifying in Barcelona for the Spanish Grand Prix.
Well, although, yeah, the Barcelona circuit has been very altered over the last couple of years, qualifying is still very important around this circuit. You can overtake now around this venue, but grid position, yes, still is absolutely king here. And of course, getting a run down in towards turn 1 off the grid is also equally important there. We're going to see top times in the 111s this weekend. Charles Leclerc was the only driver to crack that in Q1. As we make our way into Q2, we just want to try and stay out of trouble here. Of course, Q2, you know, Q1, Q2 for us should still be busy work pretty much every single weekend, as you would hope, with currently the best car in the championship. We go purple through sector 1. That's a good way to start. Take a look, though, again at Haas on the timing tower right now. They are right in the fight at the bottom end of the points. Obviously, we saw Pierre Gasly pick up yet another 2 World Championship points for them last weekend in Montreal. Hulkenberg hasn't quite had the same success, but obviously he has picked up a couple of points once again in the sprints as well. There are 112.0 Verstappen now into the 111s. Don't see Charles Leclerc anywhere, though, but he should make Q3. Well, there we go then, taking a look at our final Q2 times, and once again, 4 cars, 4 separate teams covered by less than a tenth of a second here. McLaren and Mercedes, once again, well and truly seem to be in that fight. Homeboy Fernando Alonso as well, always trying to drag everything he can out of that Aston Martin. There's no real shockers, it is the big 5 teams into Q3. Charles Leclerc though, only good enough for P9, a little bit off the pace come the end of that second session. I read a comment on TikTok a couple of days ago from one of these videos saying that, you know, racing for a top team on the F1 game is really boring. Clearly they haven't watched a single race so far this season, because ultimately I would say we've had 9 of the most action-packed races we've ever had on an F1 game so far. To kickstart the campaign, it has been well and truly blockbuster throughout the first third of the campaign. It's just a shame, a bit like IRL F1 this year, that kind of the overriding picture has been Charles Leclerc just extending his lead at the top of the championship. He's only P6 though after his first run. We want to be trying to get right up towards the top of the table, of course. You know, if there's an opportunity to take points out of him, we're always going to try and take it. But other teams are slowly catching up in terms of performance as well. Up through Campsa will go. I like to leave him in 6th gear and then really get him to 7th once you open up the DRS. These final couple of corners, it is really difficult. You've just got to manage the battery right the way around there. Just get onto it as you go through the bump through the final corner. Give you that power up towards the line. Again, we end up P3, a 10th away from Max Verstappen, but an 11.5 is a huge benchmark time. Well, just like we saw then here IRL, it seems that Max Verstappen versus Lando Norris is the current fight for pole. We're going to try and get involved in that, though, as best as we can. As out of the final corner, then, on the long run back down towards turn 1. Again, management of the battery here is absolutely critical, and making sure we extract everything out of the car equally as important. They're a little bit hesitant to try and roll the car into that first apex. As we make it up through turn 3 there, try and hold a nice tight line. You've got the extra grip in qualifying. It does not cost you anything. Brake at the 50-meter board. Ready for turn 4. So many long flowing corners through this first part of the lap. But Verstappen has gone and lowered the benchmark there. He is still in provisional pole right now. We are the only man that could try and upset him here, as Charles Leclerc not starting inside the top 5. Utter disaster for our teammate here. I think that would be his worst qualifying session of the year by quite some margin. 400ths up, but we know there's a little bit more to find through this final sector of the lap. Really just trying to attack those sausage curbs on the inside. You've got to be prepared to put it all on the line here in Q3 then. Nice and easy as you try and ride the throttle in towards these final couple of corners. Both of them completely pinned when you get it nailed out of the final corner. We're going to improve by 1/10.5. I don't think it's enough though. I think we line up P2. Well, to put half a second on Charles Leclerc is no easy feat inside F124, but that's exactly what we've done here. There, disaster for our teammate. His Q1 time was the quickest he ran all weekend. Luckily for us, we saved our best for last. Unfortunately, no, so did Max Verstappen. 400ths of a second in it between myself and the Dutchman at the end of the session. We both know today, though, that there is a big opportunity to take points out of Charlie.
Max Verstappen's first win for Red Bull on debut here. One of the great dramatic days in Formula One after the clash on the first lap of Hamilton and Rosberg. The entire crowd at turn 7 on their feet, cheering. An extraordinary race. It's always a treat to come back here for the Spanish Grand Prix. It's a sellout crowd of 140,000 here today as we await lights out for the long run down into turn 1. This is a 2.9-mile racetrack. Overtaking is challenging here, to put it mildly. There are 16 corners, but there's still a lot of drama and excitement to be found out there on track. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and Firestarter completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Norris, Hamilton, Oscar Piastri, Fernando Alonso, Leclerc, Russell, Perez, Stroll, Sainz, Hülkenberg, Gasly, Albon, Tsunoda, Behrman, Ricciardo, Ocon, Vesti, and Zhou Guanyu. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today.
Well, here we are then on the grid, ready for the Spanish Grand Prix. Of course, we've got that huge run down towards turn 1, but at least we know today, maybe for the first time ever, We've got some good pace in the car. It is up to us to try and make sure Verstappen doesn't take too many points out of our teammate. And the team want us to go uber aggressive on the strategy as well. Their softs to mediums is a big, big call around this venue. Especially, you know, as we said, the tyres can take an absolute pounding around this circuit. It seems crazy to say, but I'm going to put my trust in a Ferrari strategy. Give it 10 laps. I'm sure I will be regretting that decision then. But softs on the start, I think they just want us to be able to attack Max. You know, we saw with Leclerc, for example, at Shanghai, if we don't go with the same strategy as them, often they can just pull away, and then we're left in even bigger trouble there. And the Dutchman has done the same thing. Waiting then on those 5 red lights here at Barcelona. It is going to be lights out, and away we go. Neither Max or myself getting off a particularly good start, but luckily those softer compound of rubber is going to keep us out of trouble there as Hamilton tucked up into the slipstream down in towards turn 1, and we're going to try and send it to the outside of the Dutchman there. Not quite enough grip on the outside through the first corner, and Verstappen will lead the way then ahead of ourselves. Hamilton and both McLarens duking out a little bit further behind there. I can see in the rearview mirror Charles Leclerc just tucked up behind them. Yeah, Max and I, we know we've got to try and run away off the start of this Grand Prix. So far this year, of course, yeah, the Dutchman has claimed 3 Grand Prix victories, didn't he? Back at Monaco, Imola, and, of course, that win in the Jeddah Corniche. So 3 very, very different circuits. But, yeah, 3 times he has walked away victorious over the Ferraris, and the only real man that has been able to challenge us so far this campaign there. Both of us, though, no, we need to try and pull away from Lewis Hamilton early on. He could be a real issue on those medium tyres early, especially if we already start to see graining there. But these first couple of laps, get the tyres up to temperature, work out whether we are going to be overheating them, whether we need to nurse them. I've tried to steer the setup away from it, but you never quite know here in Spain. Well, DRS now enabled then is, oh, look at that, next to no time between Verstappen and I's fastest laps. We're going to immediately try and apply some pressure to the Dutchman as right on the outside will go, and into the lead very early on of this Grand Prix. How are the tyre temperatures looking? Oh, that front left is right towards the limit of where you're comfortable. But yeah, we play the power move early on. Verstappen, I wanted to work with you only up to a certain point. Well, we were able to sail past Max Verstappen. I'm sure he's thinking 2 can play at that game there. Closes in back down towards someone, but thinks better of it. It's all Hamilton. What's happened to Lewis then? He's really dropped back all of a sudden. Must have made a little bit of a mistake through those first couple of corners. He'll hang on to P5 ahead of Charles. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton then. Let's take a look. What did he do? Well, let's ride on board then with Lewis Hamilton here as he makes his way back down into turn 1. He's going to be under pressure from one of the McLarens there of Oscar Piastri, who's going to fly through. And then Lando Norris as well. He's just going to have a look down the inside. You just see almost wheel-to-wheel contact there. But Hamilton clearly playing the long game here early on. Clearly doesn't want to risk too much, so he didn't really make a mistake. It's just those McLarens have got ridiculous straight-line speed. Well, one thing that has really plagued Red Bull so far this year, which seems very odd to say in modern Formula 1, has been their top speed. Not today, though. Max Verstappen back down the inside at that first corner. Oh, a little bit of stuttering from the game, but it is important that we keep that gap over 2 seconds to Oscar Piastri further behind. McLaren, though, running 3 and 4 on what I would still describe as the optimal strategy. They've got a big opportunity today. Well, I'll be honest then, the worst possible news we could get early on in this race seems to be coming true. They're just starting to struggle with the left-hand side tyre temperature-wise as Verstappen.
A second a lap faster, 1 second.
I assure you, Mark, he's not. As around the outside we'll go once again and back up into the lead. It is now even more imperative for us that we try to keep Verstappen close here. We're going to have to go for an earlier box than originally intended.
Mate, tyres are running hot. Please keep the temps down if you can.
Yeah, welcome to Barcelona, Mark. We can't do anything about that at the moment, especially when we're trying to fight. I'm tempted, though, to try and kind of go half what the team wanted to do, half what I wanted to do. We're going to actually opt for the hard compound tyre when the pit window does come in. It might mean that we can undercut Verstappen as well, ever so slightly. And the harder the tyre, the easier the temperature should be to manage. Well, Max Verstappen's still absolutely hounding us.
2, 5.6 seconds.
Leclerc is very much carving his way through the order as well, and Oscar Piastri has decided he wants to get involved there as well. Verstappen, a very late lunge to the inside there, not able to make that one work. Yeah, we've just got to try and drag these tyres a couple of extra laps, already up to 55% wear, but the undercut can be very powerful here as well, so not all hope is lost yet, but it is certainly an uphill climb, despite the fact we are P1. Oh, here comes Verstappen, Lando, Norris as well, trying to push us along. We're going to be almost, we are 3 wide in towards turn 1 there. We just about keep it inside the white lines as Lando thinks better of it, decides his race is got a long way further to go as we're going to try and switch Max up the top of the hill. The Dutchman there trying to cover us off at the top there, wasn't, I don't think, expecting us to try and have a look back around the outside there as wheel to wheel will go through turn 4. We'll have the inside for turn 5. A little bit of wheel banging there as the Dutchman wanted to try and turn in, but we held firm down the inside. They're still side by side as we make our way in towards sector 2. And you can still see there the Dutchman side by side under the camper. Oh, we'll have to slot back in there, but we throw off his line ever so slightly. And immediately we'll go back on the offensive here. We are going to be diving into the pit lane at the end of this lap. So, I mean, it is basically just to try and ruin his momentum as well there. It's around the outside of Verstappen will go, and finally he decides to back out of it. I think we've got a train down to about P13 at the moment. As every single car is queuing up behind, desperate to try and have a look for a run. So we're going to go full attack mode down into the pit lane then, try and get the car stopped, and into the pit box then we go. First driver of the day into the pit lane. I wanted to try and go a little bit further. I wanted to get to the end of lap 11. But ultimately, I was worried we get a puncture.
Come on, that was a fantastic stop, faster than we were expecting.
And the winner for loneliest race so far has got to go to Fred Vesti there. That Sauber car is just absolutely terrible.
Let's get some heat into those tyres.
And when you find all the other back markers have started on the softs, yeah, you just get very, very lonely very, very quickly. We need to work on undercut, though. We need to be quicker than Verstappen, who I don't even know is still in the lead of the race. Yes, he is. Well, I would have thought we're going to see other runners into the pit lane then at the end of this lap. Lando Norris, though, leading the way. Charles Leclerc up at a P2. So Verstappen, I think, has just accepted it's better off just kind of blending into that group right now and claiming the DRS. We didn't quite get the run on Fred Vesti down towards turn 1. I'm not too sure why he's going so defensive on me, so we'll send it down the inside there. Fred Vesti might absolutely mug me off, though, on the exit of the corner. Huge step of oversteer. I'll keep the car down the inside, though, as there we go. Verstappen in. I mean, what is... yeah, I mean, I can't really complain. Fred Vesti is more than within his right.
The body's taken a little damage, just watch out for it.
We never made any contact, did we? Apparently so. As where are we going to be at against Verstappen, then? There is the Dutchman. So we're going to actually get quite the undercut on him right now. I think he might have got held up a little bit in the pit lane as well. But either way, we've got a huge margin over Verstappen. It's about 5-6 seconds. Max Verstappen, 5.6 seconds back then as he makes his way out of the pit lane. That is massive. Another few more cars then into the pit lane. It'll probably be next lap we start seeing the medium runners in.
Nice work. Still a long way to go, though.
Almost back into the points already, though, as yeah, Verstappen, he's absolutely flying on that medium tyre. He's already taken a second out of me, but we should slowly see that margin getting less and less. There we go, most of our other big runners into the pit lane. Verstappen as well, critically unable to get past Fred Vesti, and maybe, I don't think I'd ever say this normally, maybe not willing to get the elbows out against the Sauber driver as well there, so hopefully a little bit of free time in our back pocket again. I think, yeah, everybody, though, is getting tripped up inside the pit lane here. As Lando Norris makes his way back out, he's still got the overcut on Verstappen. So there's no doubt about it that the Dutchman really lost out. The other big one, of course, is that we've massively gained from it all. While all of the number 2s then making their way into the pit lane. Is it fair to call George Russell a number 2? Oh, we got yellows. Oh, we got yellows. We got Haskell that's gone for a spin. That might be a red flag here. There's other cars trying to make their way through. Yes, it is.
No overtaking, please. We'll see you in the pit lane. Okay,
oh, that is really awkward.
Resulting in loose debris. Fortunately, the marshals have managed to clear it up in...
That is really, really awkward for us. I don't know whether we're going to be restarting this race from P1. All of those other cars still have to make their way out of the pits.
Nice advantage here. Let's have a think about how we handle the rest of this race.
I mean, I guess the one this completely screws over is Max Verstappen, because of course he's now used his medium set. He's probably got another set he can use, but everybody else now, of course, has gained the advantage from the Dutchman there. But where are we even restarting this race from? We're going to have to take mediums to the end. We've got 15 laps to go. But are we starting P1? Are we starting P4? Let's find out. It is P4 on the grid then. Lance Stroll is going to be restarting this one from the front. It is 5 red lights. And it's going to be lights out. And away we go then. And luckily for us, everybody else has had to go for the hard compounded tyres. So we're going to make a big gain then. Straight past Oscar Piastri down in towards turn 1. And we're going to try and find a gap there around the outside of Russell. Sergio Perez trying to get involved. I could see Verstappen as well, a little bit further back there, trying to get in the mix. But Lance Stroll, maybe for the first time ever inside F124, is leading a Formula 1 Grand Prix. Obviously, he should have got a podium back at Suzuka, but was completely robbed of that one. It has been certainly his strongest campaign so far inside the F1 world. And of course, this is what Daddy's Catch can do for you. Lance Stroll, probably the experience of a lifetime here at the front of a Formula 1 field. I mean, he has led races before, hasn't he? Obviously took that pole back at Turkey in 2020. But ultimately, yeah, I don't fancy spending too much time behind him here as making our way down in towards that final sector. I mean, I was going to actually look for a move down towards turn 1. If he's going to be really, really struggling on those harder compounded tyres, I'm certainly prepared to look for it sooner than that. Rounding our way through the final couple of turns, though, Lance Stroll, he's going to get a lap led this season under his belt.
Okay to use your overtake button.
But hopefully, we're going to leave it as only one.
DRS is now online.
Down the inside of the Canadian will go. He's not going to give up on it, though. He's going to try and fight us, but a little bit more grip. We are through, and up back into the lead, then, of the Grand Prix. Not a bad restart lap, if you ask me. 4th to 1st.
So, all of our tyre pressure data is currently reading 0. Assuming they still look inflated to you, we're going to guess that it's just a bad sensor. Shouldn't be anything to worry about.
Yeah, EA, they desperately need to fix that. That is coming up way too often now. I've heard that message more inside the last week than I probably have in the last 4 years combined. So, once again, they kind of don't really add something into the game, and then when they do, they turn it immediately up to 11. Annoyingly as well, we're not quite going to get Stroll out the DRS window. Those hard tyres have got just about enough to hang on. It's tyre temperature-wise, though hopefully these are going to hang in.
0.4 seconds.
Claire as well, he's having a really disappointing day so far. There's an opportunity here to take points out of both him and Verstappen in the title, and quite a few.
Looks like the ERS isn't functioning. The guys are working on a fix.
What? Hang on a minute. So they set me a target. We're in lean mix 1 now for some reason. They set me the target of using the battery, and then immediately tell me it's not working. Hopefully this isn't going to compromise our pace. But I've never seen it force us down into lean mix 1 there. Oh, yellow flags out. Carlos Sainz out of the Grand Prix. Completely missed that one. The Spaniard, our first casualty of the afternoon. No, we've already had 2, haven't we? I've got no idea who else is out. It's not a Haas car, though, and they were the ones that caused the roadblock. Well, we know Lance Stroll and Aston Martin, alongside George Russell and Mercedes, aren't really our biggest threats right now. Obviously, they still remain as Red Bull, and I think McLaren on their day are a very, very racy package as well. So with those two still fighting behind, and kind of not letting anybody else have a chance here, we've got 11 laps to go of the Grand Prix. We are just starting to inch away. I think the goal will just be hold up about a 2-second gap. And, well, in the ideal world for us, so I hope we have the most boring end to a Grand Prix you have ever seen. Well, one of the only times last year when Fernando Alonso was having his glory run with Aston Martin was he outclassed by Lance Stroll. He was here at Barcelona for his home Grand Prix. It's kind of where we've seen the momentum shift slightly as well in 2024. So I'm sure even inside this game, Fernando Alonso is loving watching his teammate doing so well at his home race there. Lance Stroll, he's actually fighting George Russell pretty well for it right now. And he's back up into P2 of the Grand Prix. For us, though, tyre temperature seems to be just about hanging in the right window. We've got 8 laps to go of this Grand Prix. Hopefully, maybe for the first time all season, we are getting the Charles Leclerc experience here and just absolutely walking away with this one. But Leclerc, after a disappointing P3 last time around in Montreal, which ended up being his worst result of the year so far, today, things are looking a lot worse. Podium or even better a P2 finish here would be an absolutely massive result for both Mercedes and Aston Martin. Especially, you know, George Russell has ran really well recently and deserves it for his record. And Lance Stroll, I guess, he just likes to get huge results out of nowhere, doesn't he? Does Lance Stroll. He's trying to defend from Russell as best as he can. That gap now is almost up to 5 seconds here. There's less than 5 laps to go of the Grand Prix. Tyres just about hanging on in there. But ultimately, yeah, I don't think we need to really risk anything anymore. Oh, we've got yellows. We've got yellows. I think Perez is gone. Sergio Perez, he's either gone for a spin or he's out of the Grand Prix with just 2 laps to go. That's going to promote Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris up a place each. Perez does get going again. But a real shocker of a moment there for Checo. Late on in the day, 2 laps to go. And he might have been in the fight for a podium finish here. But he suddenly meant that Russell and Stroll should be safely through. And even better, Leclerc makes the move on Max Verstappen. Well, tyre warning light has just flashed up then, but 1 more lap to go here of the Spanish Grand Prix, and the battle is really going on behind me. Are we going to see Lance Stroll move up into P2 yet again? Yes, we are, round the outside of the Mercedes of George Russell. Has got yellow flags out. I think Perez is stopping. Perez has had an absolute stinker to finish off the afternoon here, and Sergio, he span it last lap. I think he's going to be having a mechanical failure at the end of this one. So 2 back-to-back mechanical issues for Sergio Perez this season. And, well, Ricciardo and Carlos Sainz, I'm sure, will be knocking on the door of Red Bull. Kind of going, yeah, you know what? I'll have that seat, thank you very much. The same, though, can't be said down at Ferrari. Charles Leclerc still dominating the World Championship. But today, this has been a huge turnaround result that we needed there. And I think, alarmingly, 5.6 seconds might be one of the biggest winning margins we've seen so far this campaign. Through the final corners of the Spanish Grand Prix, the red flag in hindsight could not have been more perfect for us here, and it's worked to perfection. But we've had the pace, we've hung on well, we made the strategy work. It is P1 here in Barcelona.
Yes, guys, yes! Come on, boys!
Well, that's 2 wins in a row for them now. That's really going to help them gain confidence and start to build that momentum that they're really going to be looking for.
Here come our winners now. A thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again.
Well, there we go. We take the win. George Russell somehow made it back through Lance Stroll on the final lap of the Grand Prix, but it is still a podium for the Canadian there. Stops it being an all-British podium when all is said and done there. Charles Leclerc gets the jump on Verstappen on that last lap as well, and with that fastest lap bonus point there, won't lose out too badly in the bigger picture there, but I'm sure, yeah, his first time walking away without a podium this season. I'm sure he'd like to rewrite that in the near future there. Verstappen there, ahead of Piastri there. Tsunoda beats out Lewis Hamilton, and Daniel Ricciardo gets the final points-paying position as well there. But ultimately for us, a calm end to a race for a change, which we cannot complain about there. Alonso somehow ended up down in last of the finishers. I'm not quite sure how that one works. And it was just, yeah, the other Spaniard, obviously, of Carlos Sainz, who failed to see the checkered flag there, alongside Sergio Perez, I guess. But, of course, he is still classified. That means, in terms of the championship, the gap cut down to just 8 points now between myself and Max, and 58 between us and Charles Leclerc. We've taken, what, 24 points out of him in the last couple of races. We need a bit more of that over the next few rounds, and maybe, just maybe, we can get ourselves back in the title fight by the end of the year. But back-to-back victories, our third one of the year, our third one in red as well. It does now mean officially it is our most successful season so far in Formula 1. Russell is still ahead of Norris there. Alonso still 1 point clear of Oscar Piastri. And Lance Stroll gets himself back up into 10th place there. You can see Sergio Perez 9th place in that Red Bull. It has really not been a campaign so far to remember. Still just your rookies and Zhou Guanyu who have yet to score. And in the constructors-wise there, the gap opens up over Red Bull to 141 points. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed. And yeah, we'll be back very soon, probably tomorrow, as we return for another sprint weekend in Austria. Maybe, just maybe, I can get my first ever sprint win.